The first thing Daniel Harper noticed was the silence, the kind that presses against the chest like a held breath. It wasn't the peaceful quiet of early morning or the comforting hush after rain. It was the sudden, alarming absence of sound that followed panic. One moment, his triplets were laughing somewhere between the carousel and the ice cream stand, and the next, the world felt hollowed out. His heart slammed as he turned in circles, scanning faces, colors, movement, until a flash of red near the fountain caught his eye and froze him in place for reasons he would only understand much later. Before the story unfolds any further, if you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the quiet miracles that still happen in ordinary places, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. And tell us in the comments where you're watching from, because stories like this connect hearts across the world. Daniel had not planned to be a single father. Life had chosen that path for him when Emily, his wife and the steady rhythm of his world, passed away during the birth of their triplets. Ethan, Lucas, and Noah arrived together, tiny and fragile, carrying a joy so fierce it hurt and a grief so heavy it nearly broke him. From that day forward, Daniel learned how to function on very little sleep and a lot of love. He learned to braid hair with clumsy fingers, to cook dinners that were half burnt but always warm, and to smile through exhaustion so his sons would never feel the weight he carried. The boys grew into bright, curious 6-year-olds, inseparable and endlessly fascinated by the world, while Daniel grew older faster than he expected, his dreams quietly rearranged around their needs. The trip to the seaside boardwalk was meant to be a rare break from routine. Daniel had promised it after months of overtime shifts and cancelled weekends. The day was alive with music, gulls circling overhead, and the smell of salt and sugar. For a while, everything felt almost normal. Then came the moment every parent dreads. A distraction, a blink, and suddenly, 3 small hands were no longer gripping his. Panic surged through him like a rising tide. Daniel called their names again and again, his voice cracking, his eyes darting across the crowd. He pushed past strangers, apologized without hearing himself, his mind racing through worst-case scenarios. His chest tightened with the terrifying thought that he had failed them, that Emily's last gift to him had slipped through his fingers. Time stretched and warped, each second feeling too long and too short all at once. What Daniel did not see was how the boys, following a street performer's trail of floating bubbles, wandered toward the old stone fountain at the center of the boardwalk. They were not afraid at first, only curious, until the crowd swallowed the familiar landmarks and their confidence dissolved into confusion. That was when they noticed her. She stood near the fountain, wearing a simple red dress that moved gently in the sea breeze. Her dark hair was pulled back, her posture calm, her presence steady in the chaos around her. When the boys began to cry, she noticed immediately. She knelt to their level, her eyes warm and attentive, and though no words came from her mouth, her hands moved with deliberate grace. The boys watched, their sobs slowing as they sensed her intent. She pointed to them, then to her eyes, then made a gentle motion of calm. Somehow, they understood they were safe. When Daniel finally spotted them, relief crashed over him so hard his knees nearly gave out. He rushed forward, pulling his sons into his arms, breathing them in like oxygen. Then he looked up at the woman in red to thank her, already rehearsing the words he would struggle to say through tears. What stopped him was her response. She smiled softly and lifted her hands, signing something slowly, clearly, with a tenderness that felt personal. Daniel recognized the movements instantly. Years ago, before life fractured into before and after, he had taken sign language classes with Emily. She had wanted to volunteer at a community center for the deaf. He had gone along, clumsy but eager, never imagining how deeply those lessons would one day matter. The woman's hands spelled out that she was deaf, that she had seen the boys crying, that she stayed because no child should feel alone. Daniel stood frozen, the noise of the boardwalk fading into a distant blur. Emotion surged through him in waves. Gratitude, shock, and an unexpected sense of recognition tangled in his chest. He signed back, halting at first, then steadier, thanking her, explaining that the boys were his whole world. Her eyes widened slightly, not in surprise but in understanding, as if she recognized the shape of his life in his hands. Her name was Sophia Bennett, and her story carried its own quiet weight. She had lost her hearing as a child and learned early how invisible the world could make her feel. She wore red not to be noticed, but because it reminded her of courage, of choosing to be seen on her own terms. Helping the boys had not felt heroic to her. It felt natural, like answering a call she always listened for with her eyes instead of her ears. In the weeks that followed, Daniel found himself thinking about Sophia more than he expected. Not in a dramatic, sweeping way, but in small moments, like when he struggled to help the boys with homework or when the house felt unbearably quiet after they fell asleep. He realized how isolated he had become, how grief had narrowed his world to survival. Meeting Sophia had cracked something open in him, a reminder that connection could still find him when he least expected it. They met again, intentionally this time, at a park near the boys' school. The triplets adored her instantly, fascinated by her expressive hands and patient attention. Daniel and Sophia learned each other's rhythms, communicating through a mix of signs, notes, and shared understanding. There was no rush, no grand declarations, only the slow rebuilding of trust in life's ability to surprise gently instead of shatter. Daniel faced his fears along the way. Fear of loving again, fear of betraying Emily's memory, fear of failing his children by changing the shape of their family. But he also saw how the boys blossomed around Sophia, how they learned empathy and patience, how they signed to her with pride and laughter. He understood then that love was not a finite thing. It did not replace. It expanded. The turning point came one quiet evening when Daniel watched Sophia help the boys practice reading, her hands animated, their faces lit with concentration. The house felt warm, full in a way he had not felt since Emily's laughter once echoed through the halls. He realized that healing did not mean forgetting the past. It meant allowing the future to carry traces of it forward. As this story draws closer to its end, if it has touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can change the course of a life in an instant, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in hope, and let your engagement help stories like this reach others who need them. Daniel never forgot the moment by the fountain, the flash of red that marked the turning point of his life. He often thought about how easily that day could have ended differently, how close he came to losing everything. Instead, he found something unexpected. A reminder that even in the loudest chaos, there are people who listen in different ways, who respond with compassion when it matters most. Before the final moments of this story, please comment and share what this journey meant to you, or what kindness you hope to pass on after hearing it. The woman in red did not just help 3 lost boys find their father. She helped a broken man find his way back to believing in tomorrow. And in the quiet language of hands and hearts, they all learned that sometimes, the most powerful sounds in life are the ones you never hear.